Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Thank you so very much for joining me. This is Smash the Small Pad. This is put on by Bourbon Creek Crafts, who is Beth here on YouTube. And we do this together with our friend Stampin' Cat, who is Kathy on Instagram. The links to their projects are down below. Kathy does pictures and Bourbon Creek Crafts has a video on her channel. I did So Lovely by Karina Gardner. It was a Cartabella pad. Tuesday morning back in, do you see it? 2018. And I've done this before. So this time I adjusted a little bit, and let me show you what I did. I played up the sewing, and there were some patterns that I just knew they loitered in my stash and I didn't want them this time. So I'll show you at the end what I still have left, but I'm calling it smashed. So I played up the sewing, the quilting, the stitching, that kind of stuff, and tried to keep my themes pretty good. I did have some fun tools. I am blessed enough to have somewhere along the way acquired a Martha Stewart button punch. Not only does it punch, it embosses. I'll try and show you that. So it's very cool. I was going to use this. I don't know if hexagons are right, but I know my mom did a restoration of a quilt, but I think it was octagons. But my idea was when I got down to it, I would use some of the tiny pattern papers, and then I would cut these and then lay them out. Great idea. I didn't actually do it. And I wasn't sure if hexagons were old style quilts or not. So anyway, if you're into that, that's an idea for you if you have one in your stash. I was lucky enough to receive this in Happy Mail. Okay, let me show you. So what's new? I went through a variety of stamp sets and pulled out the sewing puns. And I was careful to say, would I use this card? I would send this to you. If you at all are a quilter or a sewer, you've got your measuring tape in the background. I had a set of stickers that I think I received in Happy Mail. And so we have like an old sewing machine here, an old sewing machine paper. I brought in a scrap here that was almost like a basic gray paper of gray, just because black didn't really work and I didn't know what colors. And then back here, I have a pattern in this collection that I didn't love, but it was tone on tone of the same colors. And so I thought, okay, I'll use it here. And of course, all of them have different shaped scraps or something entertaining inside. One Who Sleeps Under a Quilt is Comforted by Love. This is an old Personal Stamp Exchange wood block stamp that I got off of eBay. I love it. It is not in the absolute best quality. I have old PSX stamps that stamp like a dream. That one's a little dry. But my mom does hand quilting. So in my family, this is very true. If you get a terrible diagnosis, you get a quilt. If you get a baby, you get a quilt. If you have a big anniversary or a wedding, you get a quilt. So quilts are a big deal in my family. So on this one, I have like the old sewing machine and then some spools of thread for fun color. And then I did use black on the background of this because I think it works because I have a really nice dark black ink. And then this paper, you know, I love a million patterns, has some text on it. And it plays up the colors in here and works. So I made a couple of these. Here's another one. This was down to the end when I was like, I hadn't used that stamp and I wanted to. So just a tiny scrap of that and then the same stamp. And you can see, like, it gives me some trouble. I'm thinking about taking it off the wood block. I think that will help me. You're So Special. I didn't make very many of these. This was actually already stamped on the craft paper. That's why I used it. And I have lace right here. And then here's the buttons. I didn't make very many of these because I didn't use them last time. They sat in my stash. I didn't want too many sewing puns unless they were thank you cards. So you can see the buttons, they have texture at the ridge. So not only does it cut a button, but it also embosses that edge. I had a little trouble. I kept doing them upside down with the actual paper I wanted, but here you go. And some fun embellishment. Here's a trick. I could not find pink washi because I wasn't crafting at home, and well, because you know how I feel about pink. This is a border sticker from a paper collection that I had. So I just needed a little bit of something to cover up. That's a seam on the paper. This is 2 scraps in the background. A tiny bit of a border sticker. I mean, literally folded around the edge and glued down, maybe 1/2 inch on each end. Fixed me right up. Thanks so much. This was an embellishment from my stash. I have a sewing themed bin, and then this was part of that set. Then this was from the black stickers. So I used paper from the collection, stuff from other things, and then a piece of pink to make this into a card. I didn't use as many layers of the patterned paper as I typically do on cards. In fact, it generated more cards, which delays how long the smash takes, but I wanted to be sure that I would use these cards. Sometimes when I get too aggressive, just saying, oh, I have to use this paper, I don't love it. I think I would send you every one of these cards. I don't know if there's any in here. Maybe if there's one that you're like, yeah, I don't want that one, you can tell me in the comments. Maybe I pushed it too far. So there's another, it's thanks so much. And I will use those. And then here, I mean, anybody who sews at all, or I might just send it for fun. You have me in stitches. This was, I don't think this is my stamp set, or I don't know where it is. I think I borrowed it probably from my friend Noni. And then I had it stamped on tea-dyed paper. So I said, well, I'm going to use it. And I cut it way down. And then this was a bit of paper from this collection. I think I'll show you at the end of my scraps. I might have some left. And I wanted to use this end. Over here, it said something I didn't want to use that was more scrapbooky. And then I had some felt buttons in my stash and a wood button. And I found these and used them before I realized how much I liked that button punch. So it was good because I had variety here and I wasn't playing with that yet. You have me in stitches. Yeah, I'd send that to a funny person, right? Okay, here's another one. You're so special. Again, didn't make a bunch of those because I didn't use them before. And this was already stamped on the tea-dyed paper. I mixed it with white. I didn't love it, but I had already glued this onto this pink. And I wasn't sure if I did a white, if I would line it up well enough to make me happy, or if I would throw the whole thing out. So because I was out of that pink, I said, that's it. And a bunch of these cards, you can't tell from here, but at least one of these is probably die cut out of this back pink layer. I did that, ooh, I need my pink to stretch out thing. Can you believe I did it with pink? This is a stamp and die that is close to my heart. And then this was from my sticker embellishment thing. So I just, anything that was in my sewing themed stuff, I keep them all together. This is an old PSX stamp, personal stamp exchange. So mixing and matching. And on the quilting ones, I tried not to put buttons, but you know, sometimes you just have fun. Thanks so much. Sewing machines and buttons and a sewing pun. This one, years ago, somebody sent me these in Happy Mail and I found them and I was like, oh, I'm going to use one of these on a card. Look how perfect that color is, like I planned it. You're So Sweet. That was on the sticker set and I just kind of stretched it out to make it a big embellishment. And then I gave it a layer of vellum to also help focus it and put it on this paper. And then this has a tiny bit of script, which is kind of fun because so does the end of the spool thread thing. Spool? I don't know. Yeah, the spool end. Okay. Anyway, you got it. So what's new? I'd send that to you probably even if you don't sew, honestly. This yellow might be familiar. It doesn't go with it, but it was from that other collection and I just loved it. So I put it in there. It made me happy. This is a bright one, huh? This is a little bit plain, like this teal right in the middle. If I'd been thinking there was a stamp in there that was stitching, or I could have taken a pen and done like some random, you know, it's a little plain, but it's okay. In this crazy quilt of life, I'm glad you're in my block of friends. That's from a local stamp company that will escape my mind now because we're filming. Oh, good heavens. Somebody tell me in the comments. They're in Kaiser, Oregon, and it starts with an A. Anyway, so I love this, and friends who are quilters, like I think my friend Katie would use this card. And then again, I liked that spool of thread and the needle. I have some other spool stamps that I don't like as much. I really like the scale of this one and how I can use it to frame things. And then we have sewing machines and scissors and just a wild pink paper in the background. Good friends are like quilts. They age with you, yet never lose their warmth. These two items were from a 12 by 12 ephemera sheet that I went through and cut out those little nubbies while I was watching TV. And I found it in there and thought, I should have prepped this like I've talked to you guys about. If you have cool ephemera or you want to ink the edges or you need to fussy cut it, prep it all. I didn't do that. So was trying to make cards, and then I thought, okay, I'll sit down, watch TV with Mr. Crafting and Relaxing and get it all ready. So I used this one and this one with the paper from the collection. Kind of love how this turned out, and they didn't all come together, right? And then craft to sort of tie it into that vintagey brown. I would use this card, especially in a family that gives quilts. Thanks so much. Okay, sometimes we try things, I don't know. This was from that ephemera sheet. These were from the sticker sheet. I've got lace right here. I went over the ephemera and then I put the sentiment on top of it, and I was down to the end, so I used the measuring paper. I think the sentiment holds up okay on it. And then I wanted some stickers to add to the black. When I set this up originally, this was farther over. So it was more, now it just looks like I did a bad job centering it. I don't know, it's okay. Maybe I won't send you this one. So what's new? Pin cushion sticker, sewing machines, measuring, and that same paper. Some of these I inked the edges, you can't quite tell. And then another in this crazy quilt of life. I'm glad you're in my block of friends. And this was scrappy scrap. This is a row of sewing machines above and below, one row of spools, and they're laid together so well. It almost looks like they're layers, but they're 3 tiny scrappy strips. And then this was a sticker in the collection. My other spool that I liked probably would have worked there, but I was out of paper by then to make it match. So this is pretty close. Like color-wise, they're not the same, but they work. That's 15 cards. I did not use these 2 pieces of paper. Sorry, Andrea and Maria, I'm sure you're just shocked. You know, they're here for you if you want them. The other side is borders. And I recall from trying to use these before, they're tiny. I would like them, if they were an inch or more, I would have liked them more. What happened was I worked really hard before to get them out and get them cut straight. I like the spools, the scissors, this one, the pink, and this one. I would have worked really hard to get them cut apart. Then they weren't really big enough when I tried to use them before to be a focal point. They were essentially just a tiny little border like this. So if the pattern was busy on the paper, they didn't work. And this time I just thought, no, at some point I'll use this green side. Maybe this is Christmas ephemera or something. I'm not getting rid of those. I'm just saying not for these cards. It was a stretch and I didn't want to stretch that color. And then here are my scraps. I'm going to save these and probably make ephemera. I might even just sit down right now with scissors and fussy cut that out. I think that would be a cute little pocket on a page in a small or girly journal, or maybe like this, right? And just cut that out and make it a tuck spot. So those are cute. See, I don't want to rock that. This one I'll put back in my sewing. This is what it looked like. It said sewn up, and you saw this part of it in a card, and then I used this for my sentiment because I was out of papers that were light enough to stamp on, and I saw this and went, oh, I mean, I could have used the other one. We were down to the end. I hadn't thought of it earlier. So I'm going to put that in my sewing. I'll probably put these tiny little things in my sewing, just like I used the yellow, and it brought me joy. And then I did not like that, and I did not use it this time. Same here. This was... our friend Nancy has the stamps that go with this, but that's fine. But it was really busy for sewing cards last time, and I just didn't want to use it. I mean, I don't dislike the pattern. The reason I kept these tinies is I saw Penny Rose make these little tiny, like junky kind of cleanup journals. Penny Rose Journals, I think is the channel, and I want to make some. So I kept these ridiculous tinies, and that's what I'm going to do. Journal, scrappy fun, keep sewing. Smashed. Done. Out of my life. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out our friends and see what they did with their small pad. Come back next month. We just keep on smashing them all through the year. And I think I have a tidy up video to bring you before Smash Our Stash on the 7th. So I think I'll be back again before the 7th. Bye-bye.